Al pie del Ávila majestuoso, a 920 metros sobre el nivel del mar, en un valle de verde geografía que se abre de este a oeste, surge Caracas, la capital de Venezuela.
And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Go get some!
What's good, everybody? My name is Rafael Chacinas Navas, el Capitán Rafucho, and welcome to another edition of the Combat Club. Because in this club, we're born to fight anywhere, anytime, anyone. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest right now because for the first time, we have an interview with one of these incredible karate combat athletes. So they call him Turbo because he's one of those greatest ones on karate combat, because on a typical day, he uses healing hands to keep the people out of the hospital. But in the night, those hands are great weapons that could cut his opponents in an ambulance. So, ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the middleweight champion of the karate combat, Ross Levine, as known as Turbo. So, how's it going, Ross Levine? And welcome to the Combat Club. So, how you feeling about that?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful introduction. I appreciate your time on this Sunday morning.
Yeah, exactly, because I know it's Sunday morning, but first and foremost, talking about like the first in the career, because we just really know that your first fight on karate combat is for the title against Shaheen Atamo, which is like a decision unanimous. And then you had to search under the pad against Igor de Castañeda with a punch and a knockout. And of course, you became the head kick against Arjun Haribe, which is the last time I made 2024. So how was like the path to the championship on karate combat? Because at first we would see like your career in glory kickboxing, but also in karate combat, we had to defeat all of the championships. So how is that declared to the path to the victory to win the championship on karate combat?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a crazy story. So I got signed to Glory Kickboxing pretty early in my career. I had only had 2 fights before my Glory debut. I knew a couple people in the sport that were gracious enough to invite me to fight and say, listen, if you do a good job, we'll sign you. And then, I had my Glory debut in Orlando. I had that great head kick knockout, knockout of the year in 2019. And they signed me right away. So I won that fight. I won another fight. I was 4-0. And then COVID happened and COVID canceled everything. So during that time, I was considering maybe going towards mixed martial arts, trying some different things, trying to go towards maybe the UFC. And then I saw karate combat. And I figured with my experience and the rule set, I thought karate combat was like a perfect fit for me. So they brought me overseas. So my first fight was not actually for the title. I had 2 fights before that, but this was during COVID. So they brought me to Europe, and I had a couple fights out there. But it was good. It was good experience for me. It was my first time fighting with the 4-ounce gloves, and then first time fighting in the pit, which is very different from any other fight sport. But yeah, and then of course getting to go back to a live show in the United States and fight for that first world title. It was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And of course, I know that you grew up, going up for the karate because your brother was a martial artist, father as a content, and of course with the karate. Because I gotta tell you for this one, I'm a former karate do champion when I was a little kid, but I know this is gonna be teaching out the discipline and of course the leadership and of course the mentality. So in that time in the karate combat, because we been see Asim Saidi as known as the president is awesome. So how was
Mm.
that relationship between for like Asim Saidi? Because he became like one of those presidents who impulse the karate combat to the mainstream. Because I know that it's not only about like the UFC getting up at the career, but some of those persons they believe in that league and they don't want to maintain like the championship and of course the leadership that goes for it. So how was that a relationship with the president also became like a great personality to go for like democratic combat?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't have a very long relationship with him because when I first started with Karate Combat, it was owned by Adam Kovac. And Adam was a long-term martial artist. He started off with Karate Combat as the president and as one of the initial founders. So I had a longer relationship with Adam. And then towards the end of my run, Awesome was only part of Karate Combat for my last two fights, and really the first fight with him in Las Vegas when I fought Sam Alvey, that was his first event as the president. So it was kind of a new relationship. And then my next fight was my retirement. So we didn't have a lot of time to develop a long relationship. But I could say that with what he's doing with Karate Combat is different. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's really good," or "Oh, it's really bad." I don't think there's anything good or bad about what Awesome is doing. I think it's just different. There are certain people that are going to really enjoy it. I think the original people who started watching Karate Combat maybe don't like it as much because the rules have changed. It is a completely different sport now, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's just different. So I don't really have any comments on that. I don't have a very long relationship with him, but everything that we've done and interacted together has been fine.
Yeah, I mean exactly. Also, there is like another question because I know that in between for the night you fight for your right, but also at the day because you've been working as a taking care of it at the hospital. I mean, that's really insane because not many fighters had to go to the balance out of their life in this one because
Mm.
during for the day because I was working well doing for the day, then working at the different jobs at Amazon and of course at McDonald's, but you became part of like the life balance to working at the hospital. And how is it dealing with the balance between taking care of those patients at the day and of course kicking ass in the night?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes from my upbringing. My parents did a very good job of raising me, and they always made the very distinct role of, hey, your education comes first, and everything else comes second. But the training that you have to do in the martial arts is what is going to carry you and help you throughout life. So, I always focused on my studies first, and I was fortunate enough to get my doctorate in physical therapy, and I love helping people. I love helping athletes, and I want to see people succeed. And at the same time, I love competition. So a lot of people ask me the same question of like, "Oh, you hurt people, but you also help people." The hurt side is only business. It's just they're going to do it to me if I don't do it to them. So it's just good, healthy competition, and it's a dangerous sport. But at the end of the day, I love to help people, and I'm very fortunate to be able to balance my time and just make sure like, hey, this is my time for work, and I always make sure I have time for training as well because that's what keeps me grounded.
Yeah, I know that exactly. All right, so I just wanted to tell you for another question because I know that one of your memorable fights is between for like Shani Antono, which is like defended the title, which is like in June 2022, and that was like a decision unanimous. But
Mm.
you only lost in between against Sam Alvey, and your last fight was defending the title against Arjun Hatibid with a head kick. So, how was that moment that you gave a head kick against Arjun Hatibid? Because that was like one of the memorable fights in your career, or just like cleaning it up, and you became like a champion, and you became ready to fight because not many opponents had to do the call for like had to the toe with toe, and of course the grappling, the striking. I mean, how was that incredible moment that you became like a middleweight champion, but of course you had the only loss against Sam Ali in Karate Combat number 43. Three.
Yeah, I mean it was all that each fight is a great moment in itself. You know, the very first title against Shaheen Atamov, that was a big deal for me. I had a lot of injuries in that camp, so for me to go out and fight the way I did I was very proud of myself. Of course, I wanted to get a finish and knock him out like I do most people, but he was a tough guy and he had really good grappling skills. He never really put himself in danger. So for me to win that fight against a tough fighter, have a 5 round decision was the first time I ever fought 5 rounds. And also with all those injuries, I was super proud of myself. And then, I had a couple other fights in between. I fought Igor de Castaneda for the second time and scored a big knockout. That was a big moment for me. And then, of course, moving up to fight Sam Alvey, I think the biggest thing that I learned is that my ego sometimes is bigger than my capability, and I think a lot of fighters will realize that. From a strictly striking standpoint, I still think I'm better than Sam Alvey. If this was a kickboxing match, I think I beat Sam. And I like Sam. He's a great guy, but the strikes landed were heavy in my favor. But there's more to a fight than just striking. There's the grappling, he was able to take me down and push me against the wall. And he was a big guy. He was just much, much bigger than me and much stronger than me. And even though I did a lot of really good things, I'm proud of myself, even in the loss, that, I knew he couldn't knock me out. I knew I never quit. I kept moving forward. I kept trying to finish him. And 6 rounds with a UFC veteran of 80 fights, is a very, very big accomplishment. So, I wasn't discouraged. And I knew I was ready to get back in at my normal weight class at 185 pounds and, going against somebody like Adrian Hadrabia, who also had a karate background. And we knew that he was going to make some mistakes. We knew that he didn't have as much experience with me. And it was just a matter of time before he made that mistake and the head kick was there. So it was a very cool moment, to end my career with an exclamation point. So it was very cool. It was very fortunate. All my friends were there. My family was there. Joe Rogan was there. So it was a cool moment.
Oh yeah, that was it. Because I know that Joe Rogan was part of there. That's part of the UFC commentators and announcers. So they just wanted to happen into two more questions. Because why do people that just call you Turbo? Because I know there are so many fighters out of the nicknames. For example, there is Demetrius Jackson, which is the Rampage, also the Iceman, Chuck
Mm,
Liddell, but also there is Demetrius Johnson, as known as the Mighty Mouse.
Mighty
But
Mouse.
yeah, the Mighty Mouse. But why do the people that just call Turbo? Because it between for like it happens with the force, it happened with everything. So explain like the story. Why did they call you the Turbo of the MMA?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I did sport karate, and I was always, even when I was a teenager, I was always a little bit bigger. I had some muscles on me, so I was always in pretty good shape. And I remember I was competing, and I was changing my uniform. So I took my uniform off, and I was just my chest was out, and someone had looked at me and said, "Oh man, that guy looks like an American Gladiator," which there used to be a TV show called The American Gladiators, and they were these bodybuilders. They were all these like big muscular guys that would compete in these crazy events, and one of them was named Turbo. So I'm in my new gym. I own a gym now called Turbo Kickboxing Academy, right, with the hat. And
Wow.
inside my gym, I have a little toy of Turbo. So you can
Oh, there
see.
you go. There you go.
So this was Turbo, and now this is Turbo. So this was the American Gladiator. You can see he's, got the big muscles and all that.
Oh,
So I was named after this guy. So
yeah,
now
I
he's in my
remember one
gym.
of
He's
those.
he's my he's my guardian of the gym.
Yeah, I remember because when you mentioned American Gladiators, I mean, I remember the famous show back in the 90s when I was like
Yes.
watching as a kid and my father. And of course, there's last question because we're wrapping it up. So, what give you like the advice to all these young prospects going up there for the mixed martial arts? Because I know
Yeah.
that even though that I'm a former karate do champion, because the loyal is never give up, and there's a lot of young prospects to keep continuing with kickboxing, mixed martial arts. I mean,
Mhm.
the impulse of those talents that became grower and grower, and some of those guys didn't want it to go like at the UFC, they're getting cut or everything, but there's like another leagues like one championship. Also, there's karate combat. Also, there's Muay Thai kickboxing league. So what they give like an advice for all these young prospects who are going to train in the mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I think the best advice I can give is for, especially for people who are doing martial arts right now, who are doing karate, who came from, what most people would think is like a lesser sport. But if you look across all of these leagues, there's something that all of us have in common, and it's our ability to use the martial arts training from when we were younger to reach big championship heights. So the best advice I can give is always keep training in your martial arts because it will always help you, even if it's not skill related. It will help you with your brain, your mentality, that indomitable spirit, your perseverance, ability to keep going. Those values are very important. But whatever it is that really excites you, if it's mixed martial arts or kickboxing or karate combat or Muay Thai, whatever it is, don't wait. Start now, start training, and learn as much as you can. Use the skills that you have with the martial arts, put them together, and you can be a champion. We have something very unique with the way that we move, the way that we attack and defend. So do not wait until you're older, like I did, to start getting into full contact. Start young, start early, find a good coach and a good gym, and the world is yours. You can absolutely do this.
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, thank you, Ross Turbo Levine, to giving us a powerful interview. So, this is the episode of the Combat Club with exclusive interview along with the middleweight champion of karate combat that's known as Ross Turbo Levine. So, make sure to subscribe to Capitán Rafucho on YouTube. Also, you can follow me on every social media on X as known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, because in this fight, in this club, we're born to fight anywhere, anytime, anyone, because this is like the podcast with all can unite all those fans of boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts, karate, because they give you like the close up of previews and reviews on all those pay-per-views coming up there, including interviews to famous athletes, of course, with interviews on the street. So thank you very much. And of course, thank you, Ross Levine, to giving us that powerful interview talking about the career in karate combat. So I hope you see you there very soon because I know that there's like a lot of talent coming up there in karate combat, and I really appreciated that time. So thank you very much. I just wanted to tell you, have a great morning, have a great afternoon, and
You as
of
well.
course, see you there at another episode of the Combat Club with Rafael Chacin, as known as El Capitán Rafucho, or if in the building. We're out of here, so salute and thank you.